We've got another interesting VCR to have a look at today. This is another JVC VCR. It's VHS-C, not normal VHS. This is VHS-C, which means it's compact. This size. What is VHS-C? It's VHS compact. It's the same tape, just in a much smaller box. And it's done that way so you can adapt these tapes to work in regular VHS machines using a cassette adapter. Fits into, I should have brought one over here before we started. And we'll have a look at those next time we're looking at VHS-C, because I've got a bunch of other VHS-C things to go over. But basically, take-up reel is in there and it's small and it uses this gear. And then the supply reel is the same as a regular VHS. So, because of that, VCRs can be a lot smaller. You don't normally find VHS-C VCRs. Typically, the tape goes into a camcorder, a camera with a recorder built into it. Marvelous advances in technology. But today we're not looking at a camcorder. It's a standalone VCR for VHS-C. So it's a compact video cassette recorder, model HR-C3, and then this is the EZ version, which is the PAL version. And it's got a battery on it, which I think use that. And it's the same type of battery that we saw last time on that other portable VCR, so we can use that same power adapter with it. It's got on the front sliding down control panel. I don't know if that does anything other than just cover it up. Maybe it goes into record mode when it's like that. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see if we can find out. We've got headphone socket, a mic input socket, a remote socket, a camera connector, eject, which is mechanical, tape transport controls, pause, play, fast forward, rewind, audio dub, and a record button. The record light stays visible when you close this door. Over here on this side there's tape counter with a memory. Oh, you can change it between counter and remaining time. The due indicator, battery presumably low indicator, reset and memory for the counter. There is a record lock, presumably to stop you accidentally recording, and a power just momentary push button switch. There's nothing on this side. There's just the battery connector, which I've conveniently already labeled plus and minus. It's black and white color or color selection. It says do not move the terminal cover if it's out of its place. Attaching the power unit is impossible. Oh, does that mean that if it's like that, it won't let you put this on? Yeah, because it needs to fit into that hole there. Interesting. Okay, and on this side, there is tracking control, very similar to what we saw on the other VCR. RF out, audio out with a phono jack to make your life exciting. And video out connector. That is also quite interesting because it makes me wonder, is this the VCR that this little monitor is supposed to go with? They are very well matched in size. Maybe there was, you see on here, well, there's some kind of thread and alignment hole thing, but there's not much else going on. And then on here there's a clip sort of thing and some holes, which makes me think there's like a tooth hook thing which could click on there and tick, and then they'll be attached. Maybe it's at this position so that you can still, you can get that off if that's there, although you still need to get to the eject button. I don't know, I'm not sure. It does look like these things should go together though, especially since this has got the right connectors to go straight into there. See, there's only a video out and audio out. There's no inputs on this. In order to get an input, you got to use the camera connector. Just happened to have, I don't think I made it for this one. I think it was for that black and white open reel VCR, a video audio input adapter for doing just that. Although again, it's the cable. It's a nice multi-core cable, so it's subject to terrible degrading and its insulation's gone all mushy and sticky. Not very nice. But typically this thing would be connected to video cameras, similar to the one that we briefly looked at last time. And we're going to take apart soon, so get ready for that. So it's just a camera, no power supply or recording device in this, just a camera. Interestingly, on these ones, oh, we got to take all that stuff off, and then the lens comes off. Yeah, let's save that till later. And then they also have the ability to adjust that so that, maybe it's so you can use it like a microscope or telescope camera with the viewfinder on the end like that. Maybe, not sure. It is interesting though how that can pivot around. Oh, it can go like that or down. Yeah, so this type of video camera will be connected up to the VCR, and then the recording's done in there. You get shoulder strap, attaches onto those hooks. Should we take this apart first, or should we turn it on first? Maybe we should take it apart so we can see what's going on in there. You can see under there, it's just got a supply reel and there's nothing there for the take-up. All it has is a tiny little, not that tiny, a small gear there for turning that. I've got a few tapes here. Hopefully this thing works and there's something on one of them. Look at that. National brand VHS-C tape. That's pretty nice. This one actually comes out round the right way. Something I've found very, I don't know, disappointing about the VHS-C tapes is when you open the box, the tape's upside down. So if you put a label on it, you can't see it until you take it out of the box. Again, extra power is VHS-C. But this one, they've done this one right. Of course they've done it right, it's a national brand. That one is up the right way. You can see there, VHSC, that hole is uncovered. You look on a normal VHSC, that hole is blocked up. So that's what's being used to identify the VHS tapes to the machines. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's get this thing open and then we'll see if it works. What I do know is this thing did not work at all when I got it. Long time ago, like all these things in a land far, far away, I received this machine and it's completely dead. No sign of life whatsoever. No powering up. Didn't do anything. And how do you get into this? I think it's just 2 screws on it. There's one there as well. So, one day, I took the day off work because it was my birthday, and of course that deserves a day off work. And then I made an attempt to repair this, and it was successful. Got the service manual, I took it apart, meted out a bunch of things. Okay, the light is turned off. I think it has not been charging properly. A substitute, which I know is charged because I just used it the other day, to light up the back of a closet space where I was drilling holes through the wall to install, did we look at it? I don't know, a fiber optic cable that I got for Thunderbolt. Yeah, the light that's up there has some weird problem with it that it won't, not this one has a weird problem that it just self-discharges fast. That's really annoying. So if you've not used it for a while, it just goes flat. Whereas the one that's up there doesn't do that, but it won't charge unless you plug it in unplug it and then plug it in again. So I must have forgot to do that the last few times and now it's gone flat. Yeah, don't buy cheap nasty things because they don't work properly. Not going to stop me though. Good. Yeah, so one day I set about working out what was wrong with this machine and getting it to work, and it was successful, and it's probably not been powered on since then. And I remember this thing wasn't easy to get apart. Oh, look, there's a bit of stuff on the bottom. There's a slidey openy thing, high-low, which will probably be the RF output, like channel selection, whether it's high or low. And look, off on power save switch. I guess that's a configuration option. Okay, so that pulls off. Oh, and that's the record thing. Look at that. That must be a super cap there. Oh no. Yeah, capacitors are going bad in this. Corrosion on the bottom of that one. Yeah, well, I can tell you now what turned out to be the problem when I debugged this thing is that I think that one there, that capacitor was bad, and that capacitor is the microcontroller reset capacitor. So poked around and found that it wasn't going out of reset. The microcontroller was just stuck. Like active, on. Ah, alright, it looks like that lifts up. Guess you can always look at the service manual to work out how to get things apart, but where's the fun in that? Look at that! It has a full-size video head, so that's pretty exciting. And now, because we've taken it apart, we can't join the power up to it. Luckily, I thought about that and I put plus and minus markings on there so we can get our trusty this thing and power it up that way. Okay, let's set this up to 12 volts, and I guess 1.5 amps is probably enough for it. Negative on the bottom, positive on the top, and then I'll have a go at powering this thing up. No current draw whatsoever. Oh, look at that. That's a good sign, isn't it? No, that's not a good sign. I guess it needs more than 1.5 amps then. Yeah. Yeah? Is it broken? That's sad. I guess it doesn't work anymore then. Maybe too many of the caps are ruined. Let's just crank the voltage up a bit harder just in case. Take it up to 13.5, since that would be what you could expect from a fully charged battery. No, just in case that is sagging, let's crank that up to the max. No. Oh well, I guess we won't be able to see it going then unless we can work out what's gone wrong with it. I'm guessing all the caps are now ruined, so it's not willing to play the game anymore. Or maybe it's a loading belt that's fallen off, and because of that it can't like reinitialize the state of the mechanism. Okay, let's have an investigate of this thing. The same everything that you'd find in a VHS machine, it's just that the tape part is smaller, so the loading arms go in further. So instead of there and there, they're closed up a little bit to there and there, a bit further in, as you can see there, but they go to the same position, everything's the same dimension, so that the tapes are interchangeable. Pinch roller there, audio control head, some arms, there's a cap stand there, rollers, back tension assembly, which would work the same way. So it's all back tension band there. Back tension is band. No, back tension band, the felt band. Okay, so once the top is off, which looks like it just sort of hooked itself on and off, shielding thing in there with a connection down to the metalwork down there. How sad. I wanted to play this and run it. Anyway, we got the top off, and now that exposes the screw. Ah, that is that. I reckon. I remember now. This was incredibly difficult to open, and that the reason why that's there is because I drilled it. Because the mechanism must have been in a position that meant you couldn't eject it, which means you couldn't get this top cover off. And so I drilled that in so I could unscrew this. I have a feeling that I pulled the front off and then undid this screw and then pulled this down enough to be able to twiddle the loading motor gear there, like peel that back and get it into its stopped position so that the tape compartment could be ejected, and then take the top off. Yeah, see that screw there, a long one, goes deep into there to that. It holds that bottom part on. So this here says 82 1 on that marking from the molding, from the die. So it must be 1982 first year. So that's old stuff. A lot of old stuff around here. Now what goodies have we got here? Good bodge wire going across it. The RF modulator there. Capstan motor. The reel motor for driving the tape reels. Loading motor there. Now that kind of feels in good condition. I was wondering if is that the reason if that's slipping. Let's just power it off again briefly and see if that motor spins or not. Not at all. Maybe we can rotate it to a position and see if it will put itself back. No. Yeah, it might be dead. Alright, how do we get this thing apart more then? To take the bottom board off. It's another one of those things where you got to take everything apart to take anything apart. And I think these here screw each side of the camera connector will be holding this front board on. A nice shielding box thing around those audio connectors. There must be clips. Yeah, there was a clip there. There's a clip there. Must be a clip in there. Then there's wires. Oh yeah. You can see microcontroller there. Bunch of stuff. And we've traced it around, and there's the reset capacitor there. The soldering for it. That's the first things you do, isn't it? Always check power supplies, then check microcontrollers, clocks, and reset. And yeah, if those things are all going, then it becomes difficult. Now, where do these wires go? Is that the audio board? Looks like an audio board. Yeah, it says audio, so that's the audio business there. Oh, so that wire there is going over to where those microphone and earphone connections are. Makes sense. Yeah, see it trundles off along the surface of the board. Ah, that box there is probably a power supply thing. That box joins on there, and then there's relay and fuse there. Looks like there's another relay here. We can hear a relay clicking. I reckon the caps in that have probably died. That's probably what its problem is. Look at them all. That'll be some newfangled fancy switch mode power supply thing. And it's probably popped its clogs. Sort of suggested by the way that thing sounds when it goes to power up. It does a little bit of stuff and then just powers off because something's not right. Can the bottom of this thing come off? Not easily. Yeah, in order to sort that out, you'd have to replace all those caps. What a job that would be. I don't think I'm going to do that because, as we already saw, every other capacitor on this is also ruined. So it would need a total recap to get this thing back into a working state. Been wondering, was anything in this replaced? Yeah, there is a little bit of flux around that. Although that seems to go to a trim pot. It just might have needed to be touched up, might have got bridged in the wave. Probably wave soldered or dip soldered. Like dipped into a solder bath briefly. Yeah, but I'd say that this something in here has had it, because that's all packed in tight and would have run warm, and it's high frequency stuff, so it's also going to wear the capacitors a lot more than other circuits. Oh well, unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. If we can get this backboard up and have a look at it. That's probably the video board. It says VC or YC, so Lumo and Chroma board. Okay, does that come off? Mostly what's holding it on, that's the RF plug there for the going over to that connector there. Let's see, maybe this will come off now as well. It's got a big dual row pin header thingy there. Need to peel that up. Not the right type of screwdriver. We need a wider blade to not destroy this stuff too much. They're really well attached. I don't think there's any other clips, is there? No. Oh, there's another one in there that we're also pulling apart. Wonder that bending the board so much. Look at that. That interface there, connecting it up. Now we can get that off. And so this here will be servo. Probably only servo. Or servo and MDA. I know what that means. Motor drivers maybe? Look at that. Good use of surface mount. Through wave surface mount. Because you can see the glue blobs out the side of the resistors, that little brown dot there. So that's screen down glue, and then pick and place your surface mount parts with no solder paste, and then once the glue's dried, just run it through the wave solder after doing the through hole placement, and then solder your surface mounts and all your leaded stuff in the same go. And then on the top it's just surface mount. So what they would do, I don't know what the order would be. They'd do this side first. The surface mount on this side will be done first. Then they'd flip it over, glue down the other surface mounts, flip it back, place all the through hole parts, and then stick it through the solder wave. Probably. Otherwise, you're subjecting these bottom side parts to 3 heat processes if you place them first. Surface mount reflow, then wave. So yeah, it's probably these first. Surface mounts on this side first, then place these, then solder them along with the through holes. It's a pretty thin board, about 1mm, and if it's the same as the other ones I saw here, the Elna branded board, maybe that was only one of them. Yeah, that one was. What is that? Oh, it's a delay line, so that's a bit of extra stuff for the video circuit. And that one is for the erase head. Now this backboard will come off, although that's now tied in with this. That screw was not tight, so that's not a relay there. I think before I said that was a relay there. It is not a relay, that's a delay line. Delay line, some kind of 4-legged transistor-y looking thing, which is called IC1. And that guy, is it 4 legs? Yeah, interesting thing. And then that's that video, that's that circuit board for the video stuff. All the good video stuff on there. So that wire there must be coming off the head amp. Ah, look, head amp is right there. The wires off the video head going into that little shielded box, and then those cables are coming out of it. So then what's this ribbon here? Oh, look at that. Is that the head motor wires? I think so. Oh, that's interesting. Things to go to for compact. Oh, some sticky gross stuff is there. There's something separate. Oh yeah, you can see right there. See, that one goes down. Was that for the end sensor light? Maybe right there. Would that be for that? No, that comes off of there. Maybe it's a dew sensor? Not 100% sure where that one's going. Oh, no, it's going into there. Maybe it's a different sensing thing for the rotation feedback there's picked up on those two wires. So that's done here, stuck on it, touching the video head. So I'm guessing that's done because there's no other easy way of getting wires from out of the head motor over and down to the servo part, because this back area here is completely filled up by all this video circuit, and you don't really want the noisy motor driver wires traveling around that stuff, so they put it in a flex, a nice flex assembly, and sandwich it between two shielding parts, like this back plate here of the head amp and shielding to the video head, and then this shielded flexible part over there. That's pretty cunning. It is interesting though that they're using a full-size video head, not that tiny one that we've seen in other machines. You've got to grab one. So here we've got, remember this from way back when we looked at the National Panasonic NVM3 and all its derivatives. This is the mechanism from one of those. And that there is a whole VHS recorder, but it's full size recorder in a similar amount of space. You see, it's only slightly wider there, and the height of it is more or less the same as this machine. But this takes a full-size tape. But the reason why they've been able to make it so compact, so it's the same depth pretty much as this VHS-C machine, but they've used that tiny head in there, which spins much faster and has got more heads on it, so it actually crosses the head switch. So it's running at twice the speed, and so it will scan half in one go and then switch and scan the other half, if that makes any sense. But yeah, that's the other way of doing small VHS. So in the machines that are inside camcorders, they're using VHS-C tapes and the small head, so you can get it even smaller than this thing is. Get it right down to like this sort of size. As we'll see, we're going to have a look inside some VHS-C camcorders probably coming up, because they're also JVC. Remember that one from Back to the Future? Got one here, and we're going to poke it about. Even though it probably would sell for thousands on eBay now, will it? Because of its special appearance in a movie that happened long ago, back when it was state of the art. Yeah, so it's quite interesting that they've put the big head in this compact machine. Maybe it's simplified things a bit. Have we covered all of the things about this? Just looking at these ICs to see if we could get any date codes that would confirm our suspicions. It says 8239 on that, which is pretty believable into the realm of what we saw on the molding. There's another chip on the back of that display thing. That discrete chip, it's not a blob. I don't know if we can get that up to look at it without breaking something. The wires are too short. It's an NEC chip, it says on an 8234. So yeah, it's a 1982 machine, like manufactured date. Another electrolytic capacitor under there, leaking away, even though I can see the corrosion through the glue that's holding it down. Quality stuff. Interesting, the machine from the last video still worked fine. Maybe it had more favorable storage conditions and the caps remained in a better state than the ones in this machine. Possible this one got barely used because of that fault. Those yellow caps seem to be less leaked. So that board's okay. Proper through-hole plating. The video board, you see it's got these sub-module things where it's an assembly on some kind of substrate, probably a ceramic, surface mounts. And that one there looks like it's got through-hole parts on it. And then that thing is plugged into sockets, like it's an IC. You see there's rows of sockets. Maybe we can get one out and poke it a bit. Maybe we can get one out and accidentally destroy it. Help to make the thing more compact, because it's like putting another circuit board on top of the existing one with more parts on it. Let's see if we can destroy this. Yes. Oh no. The legs are so long and they came out really suddenly. That goes that way. Don't forget that. It goes that way. Oh dear. Look at that. It's a ceramic PCB board. Looks like it's got wires on it because there's dents. And then it's got legs like crimped over the edge, which we've now ruined. Because it's, you know, one of those things that's gripping on really tightly and then all of a sudden it just lets go, and so it just gets yoinked out. Which is great. At least it hasn't gone deep into my finger. That's when the trouble starts. So yeah, there's parts, through-hole parts on that, and then on the bottom there's a whole bunch of surface mount parts, including some IC, and then it's had some kind of formal coating kind of stuff stuck onto it. And then it plugs into a socket there, or two sill type sockets, next to a vertical one there, and then two others, NEC chips on them. Yeah, crusty legged capacitors in there too. That guy there, and probably many others. So that's also ruined. Double-sided board, proper through-hole plating, a lot of wires going around it, and yeah, modules all over it. Sill connected modules, and these dill connected modules. Sills. And yeah, it's surprising how long the legs are on that. So they go really deep down into the socket, and there's really nowhere to like lever it up from. Very interesting. Yep, major corrosion on the audio board. See, it's discoloring the PCB there as well. That's just single-sided generic board. And the mechanism, fairly interesting connection stuff going on there. Maybe this doesn't have a mode switch, and instead they're using just these switches. Maybe that's the loading motor and a race head connector. And we've got up here the N sensor there, and the Dew sensor on the surface there. That's that stuff. Then we've got some like proximity sensor. I think that's the emitter for the N sensor. And then the other receivers on the side. There's a like cassette in, leaf switch there. Then there's, that will be a photo transmitter, and then receiver for seeing the rotation of the reel. In this case it's just a gear, because that's the one that goes to the take-up reel that's inside the cassette housing. And then this other one there will be for the supply reel, and you can see it just there. You can see it's got patches of reflective and non-reflective material on it for detecting the rotation of the reels. There's a solenoid there, lots of latching types. There's a magnet on the end of it. Now that's latched on, so that must be brakes. Yeah, reconfigures the brakes and the idler tire by the look of it. And the leaf switch there, so it knows when it's on or not on. Then it looks like there's the driver for the capstan motor here. Is the motor driver under it? There's definitely a ribbon cable coming out, and then there's not ribbon cable going in there, and it looks like there's another circuit board deeper down. I reckon we need to take that out and look at it, because that's interesting. The pinch roller's in the way. Let's see. Is it just a connection thing? Yeah, look at that. The ribbon cable comes out, and I don't know. There's something there. Maybe it's just a connector thing. Oh, look at that. It's some kind of block. Maybe that's a motor driver. Like a fully integrated motor driver. You see, because it's soldered down to this board. Does it lift off? It's like it's a cover on something. No, it's just the board bending. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Look at that. It's a VC5024. Must be some kind of integrated motor driver thing. Just sits there under the motor. And yeah, so that's only 4 wires. So there's a feedback there, but it looks like it's just, oh no, it's 5 wires. 5 wires going to it. There's probably power supply and some sync clock type thing, and a feedback probably. Interesting. Didn't realize there would be a little motor driver hiding under there. And then loading arms here, so that motor there drives that wheel, and then under it there's 2 more that reverse the direction, so that one ring turns in one direction and the other one turns in the other direction to drag these tape guides out along each side of the video head. There we go. An exciting little VHS machine, portable. Not sure, is it worth putting this thing back together? It's not going to be feasible to get it working again. But yeah, just noticed there's an interesting gap. There's free space right there. There's nothing in that area. Which is interesting. They got it so compact, yet there was still a bit of space left. Interesting. Alright, we're going to leave that there. I think we've explored... I'm going to leave that one there because I think we've explored enough of this machine. It is interesting. Made some cunning design choices here to fit everything into the space available. Unfortunately, the capacitors have gone bad, and probably also something in this box. So we're not able to run it without doing significant work, and I'm not really that keen on doing significant work to this right now. So there you go. Next time we'll take a look at, I guess we're taking apart this camera, maybe? Stick around for that. But for now, there is the JVC HR-C3 compact VHS portable VCR.